Hello, folks. This is the first episode of the podcast, Articulate Foolery. I'm your host, Kyle Mackesy, and here we have our special guest, Melissa Dole.
Hello!
So, most of the show, the series, it'll be me hosting it, but today we have a guest. Melissa does all sorts of things, as I explained earlier. I am a creator of the show called Song Conquet. Song Conquet.
Song Conquet, where we sing the whole time.
That's when we have our musical movie. Melissa,
next.
Yeah, Melissa is a big player in the show. She's done all sorts of things, most famous for performing the star of the show, Charlene from Revere. Melissa does a lot of things. She's a Renaissance woman.
What do you do, Melissa?
But today, we're going to focus with her on this roller derby thing,
which I am still very much figuring out, and that's important to note. Because it's like, okay, roller derby is something I've wanted to do for a very long time because it seems empowering and exciting, and also, like, just coming from a background where it just seemed like everybody else kind of knew how to do the sports thing, and I really didn't get it. It just seems like, I just haven't found the right thing, so if I just keep trying weird different things, I'll find my thing. So anyway, I can skate in a straight line fine, and that's been great and served me well throughout the years. It just turns out that you don't do that in roller derby. You actually skate in a circle with a lot of other people, and you have to be able to, like, stop and turn and also hip check people and not fall over. So the process for that has been, like, a lot of, first of all, learning how to fall, which seems very important. Learning how to do weird kind of motions with my legs where I don't pick them off the ground so I don't trip anybody. And also watching a lot of other people do stuff and being very impressed. And yeah, so it's very much a work in progress, but it's been really fun.
Interesting. Is it a sport where there's, like, score kept, or?
Yes. I actually can't speak very much to that right now. Okay,
because I don't know. I'm pretty ignorant.
I am with rules. But essentially, I might also be bastardizing this a little bit, but there will be two teams of, I'd say, about 9 girls, but I'm not positive on that.
Okay.
And there will be one girl on each team who is wearing a star on her helmet, and she is the runner. So she is skating ahead of the crowd, or at least the objective is that she is doing that, and making a certain amount of laps around the circle. And everybody else's job is to try to prevent that from happening. And in doing so, you're kind of skating as this big herd. And your defense, basically, there's one person going forward and everybody else's defense. But in that, there's a lot of, like, tricky room for plays where you can fling each other forward. You can touch your teammates, but it is technically against the rules for you to, like, touch other people, like, or push in that way anyway. So you have to be very sneaky, which I think actually doesn't go over well, which is kind of the appeal of roller derby too, is that it's like this gritty thing where people can fuck around. I mean, the Wicked Pisses are from Revere. Actually, it's really funny. Their write-up on their website is like, these chicks from Revere who were demanded to do some kind of social service because they were in trouble, and their I don't know, councilman was like, you guys need to learn a sport, so they ran him over with their roller skates and they've been rolling around ever since, kind of thing. But yeah, I forget where I was going with that. Sorry.
No, that's good. I was just asking, like, about the scoring, so it's about, just to clear it up for me and for the audience, so you'll have a team leader, and they're the ones that are trying to make as many laps as possible, but the opposing team is trying to block them from, or at least hinder their ability to make as many rounds as possible. Okay.
Yes. It's like you're defending and protecting at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, like, I guess that goes for most sports.
True.
I don't know. I'm sports ignorant, so I wasn't being sarcastic. But
and apparently I still am, but that's okay. Yeah.
So you train in Fairhaven?
Yes, in Fairhaven, Mass. The league is called Mass Attack Roller Derby. And it's basically, at the moment, we just, like, I actually just, like, skate in circles and practice that, as mentioned. But it's, like, it's a scrimmage league, so we mostly just, like, fight amongst ourselves, and I've heard that we occasionally do other teams later in the season, but I don't have any more information on who that would be. But it gets a surprising number of women. There were at least, say, 30, 40 people there on the night where they were just assessing, like, what people can do and how well they can skate. So it was pretty impressive. They were all very, very cool and very badass, as to be expected.
And I don't know if you mentioned this. Do you have any skating experience?
I got roller skates 4 years ago, and since I live in New England, it's really salty on the streets most of the year. So in summertime, I used to make my friends take me to parking lots and just skate in circles with, like, the fucking shopping cart in front of me so I didn't fall. But yeah, that's pretty much all the skating I have done.
Yeah, that's impressive. I used to, as you know, work at the Frog Pond skating rink.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah, I didn't learn till I was like 15. My mom brought my sister and I to the rink in Revere to learn how to skate, but I didn't. I went through like, yeah. When I started, that was when I was 15. I only did that year, and then I started the job at age 24. So there was a good almost decade gap.
A decade of where you did not skate at all.
Oh, I didn't skate at all. In my first year, I didn't even know how to brake, so I just grabbed onto the wall, and I was supposed
Still fucking do that.
Yeah, but see, Melissa, like, you're doing this for fun. You're not, like, people aren't dependent on you. Like, I was getting paid, granted, minimum wage, but...
I was always under the impression that you were a guy in a box, not that you were, like, a lifeguard of the ice when you were
I did
there.
both, yeah. I was the guard, and I handed out the skates.
So would you skate up to people and just, like, grab them? Just, like...
I would
Bear hug
awkwardly,
them.
like, if they were doing some violation, I would skate, like, close, but then I would have to grab on, like, you know... I would have to, like, go through this, like, awkward transition of, like, authority figure knows what he's doing and then just, like, a fool who just doesn't.
That's like the equivalent of lanyard guy, though. It's like lanyard guy who can barely skate lanyard guy.
This is, yeah, what you can do as an artist. Money-wise, not much.
No, you're a unicorn, just not a well-paid one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems like a great fit. Like, this didn't surprise me when you mentioned it. It's like, oh, that sounds like a Melissa thing to do.
And I feel like it would just be really good to get some exposure to, like, being around other supportive women, because I feel like there's rarely just enclosed groups that are of the... And it's not... I was curious about this, too, because, like... There is the whole concept of, like, well, if your feminism isn't intersectional, then you're fucked up. And technically, in roller derby, anybody who is identifying as a woman, regardless of whatever, is open to join. And I just feel like I felt kind of better reading that. But, regardless, it is something that I feel that I've been lacking in my life, and I'm happy that I have that. No, you could probably edit that part out. That felt weird.
No, that's fine. I mean, Charlene, you know, demands, like, Chelsea and Lynn be supportive, so at least it's
It's true.
This sounds a bit more natural. No offense, Charlene.
You can't offend Charlene. You just can't.
Well, I would, you know, argue against that.
You can step to her, and
Okay.
she'll put you in your place, but, like,
Okay.
there's no hurt there.
Okay. Except with me, with Tony.
Oh, Tony. Sensitive topic, that one. Sensitive topic. Freddy's back in New Hampshire again.
With the Impala.
With the Impala. This time of year, I mean, it's really tough on cars.
So I'd like to jump to another topic.
Sure.
So yeah, that by the way, that was really interesting. Learned a lot about...
You're very supportive, thank you. Learned a lot about what we have to learn about.
Learning is important on articulate foolery.
Yes, agreed.
Now we're going to move on to how we met up, folks. If you don't know, we both went to art school.
Are we going to talk about art school?
Not art school, but like the art that Melissa does.
Oh, my that?
So I figure we start off with that, since that's important.
Since you said I was a Renaissance woman.
Besides, cooking and plumbing and...
Yeah, I do those things. It's true.
Yeah, I'm not I do my research for the show.
You do your research, period.
Yes. Your art. So, could you, in a few sentences, I know this is a challenge.
Always has been.
How would you sum up your art?
Well, oddly in a similar fashion to roller derby, I feel that, and everything I do, I feel like it's something that I learned by doing, and that learning is like hugely important to the process. I don't ever really approach it from a point of absolute authority on a thing, because it's kind of a byproduct of how my brain works, and how I tell stories. It's sort of like, as I am making an object, let's back it up. So I make sculpture, and I occasionally do paintings, and I occasionally write, and that's pretty much the extent of my artistic practice. And that is all an extension of like my learning process. And so that is something which is, sorry, anyway, part of it actually is really that I feel that I don't always express myself best with words. I've gotten better, definitely. I think maybe in the time that you've known me, I've gotten a little bit more used to it, but like a lot of the things that I'm trying to process, and especially the emotions I have, and that's mostly my artwork is about, my feelings. Those are things that are really hard to talk about and hard to even kind of analyze sometimes, because they're these very abstract and occasionally painful, occasionally joyful, usually angry things. And so my artwork is usually how I explore those manifestations. And sometimes that is through kind of just really maiming a found object. Other times it's forms that I build. A lot of times it can explore figure. A lot of my work has been bodily, because a lot of my kind of thoughts have been bodily, I guess. But I've noticed as I've been going kind of through it all lately, like a lot of it, they're all incredibly complex in the thoughts I was going through as I was working on them. So in that, they're incredibly, incredibly therapeutic, and they're all very, very meaningful to me. And in that, I kind of hope that my artistic practice tends to change eventually. It becomes quicker and slightly more simplified, so it's easier for me to like give you a simple piece of a thought, and maybe that's something you can relate to. But yeah, they're strange, but really important to me, I guess. That's my art.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think he sums up you, but your artwork the most, is this philosophy you have called guess and check.
Fuck! I totally forgot!
No, you haven't. You have not. Don't lie.
I'm true to it. Because see, I just guessed at a different way I could talk about guess and check by saying it's a learning process. So, and that was also guessing it. But anyway, yeah, the other thing that I do with everything in life was like, I think I was paying attention for maybe the first 2 weeks of second grade, and in that I learned guess and check, the math technique where you just plug in numbers until it works. And I use that in literally every single facet of my life that I possibly can, and I preach to my friends to do this as well, and we all just have a great time guessing and checking and doing all kinds of shit. But like material-wise, that is absolutely what I do. Sometimes I turn up the welder all the way and I poke holes in the metal till it melts, and that's not how you're supposed to do that. And I put shit in my plaster, and I put shit in my foam, and I light things on fire, and I do different types of paint on different types of things. And it's a process that I recommend doing masked and ventilated, but recommend doing all the same.
Yeah, I would have to say that, and of anyone I know, especially artists, I've never met someone who embraces experimenting more than you do. And it's joyful and refreshing and engaging at all certain levels.
Thank you.
First, it's like there's absolutely no pretension in that, and it's true learning, it's true exploration. And I've seen, since I've known you, because folks, we're in the same studio for our last 2 years at art school.
We've known each other for at least like 6 years now, right?
Yeah,
that's almost a decade.
So we've grown very close, and we've seen each other's art process, and it's been really, I think it's been really interesting to see someone like, you have your thoughts and your philosophies, doing what you can to like see what materiality can do to get you there, and also how materiality can like, create these other, ideas that you discover. And yeah, it's really fun, engaging, and just I would also have to expand too that, and I'll talk about this a little later with language, but you're phenomenal at poetry.
Thank you.
And like, we had this assignment, so our senior year, we had to do an artist statement. And that's pretty big, because that's pretty much your pitch. Like, how do you advertise it? It has to be short. It's recommended, like, under a page.
So cranky.
Oh, yeah, Melissa was...
Also...
Melissa was a lot like me. I'm very stubborn.
Kyle showed, like, a 20-page slideshow of just roadkill.
Well, that was for another assignment, a previous assignment. But,
pitch to the pitch, and it was really good.
But this assignment, so most people do the standard muckety-muck, but Melissa just wasn't having it, and I was getting concerned as like, well, you're not going to be able to pass if you don't do this.
I didn't fucking do it.
Like, it was like, too cool for school over here.
Too scared.
What you produced, it got me into poetry again.
Word.
Because a lot of contemporary poetry does not speak to me whatsoever. But your stuff was phenomenal, and I was able to really... Because no matter what, like, we do art because we don't feel like language alone can encapsulate what we have to say. That old saying, it's like dancing about architecture. But there needed to be something. And I'm glad, like, you were in this class, but that poetry you created gave me enough leeway. I was like, okay, now I understand a little better now. Even though I'm with this person all the time, I see what she's doing, but it's still kind of like cloaked in mystery. So now, like, and we'll probably never, every artist, only they know their artwork completely. No other person, I feel, could ever understand it 100%. But I think that's what you needed for a variety of reasons. I think it's important to just, open up just a little bit. So people just know how to approach it.
Yeah.
And you have it up on your website, melissadole.com.
I think Melissa Dole works, but Melissa M. Dole is the...
Okay, Melissa M. Dole.
Because there used to be a melissadole.com.
I will have that in the link in the comment section to Melissa's website. You get to see all her work, which is...
Creeps.
Yeah, a lot of... I don't like describing people's artwork. I don't want to do an injustice, but it's a lot of like disintegrating things and a lot of kind of like ambiguous monsters, like not quite a monster, but not quite an inanimate object, and very textural. If you like textures, Melissa's all about the textures.
And if you don't like textures, you can learn to like textures. Yes. I've got a texture for all of you. Your
artwork is very like thought-provoking, soul-provoking. There's always like I don't think I could ever get bored with it. It's and it's great to see it in the gallery space, because I think it's just hilarious. Everything's sterile, everything's perfect, and then there's this like, the bombing of Dresden detritus. That's Melissa's artwork, and I love it. It's just, and this was summed up our first class together, Projects in Wood. So
oh my god!
So folks,
this is the class I cried in a lot.
This. Not to get too personal, but her and I both had our own personal issues, and we were struggling. But this class, taught by...
Because Kyle, if you can build a box, you can build anything, alright?
That was Rick Brown's philosophy. Now, he didn't teach the class, his wife did, but they're to describe the Browns... They're a backwoods southern entity that's,
they're brilliant people. They are brilliant people. But in doing so, they're so unapologetically themselves that just being taught... Because we both, actually, we were in the same 2 classes, and one with each of them. And by the end of it, they'd just both come to both classes. And it was just really fun because, they have this fantastic dynamic where they had been married for, 30, 40 years and working together for 30, 40 years. And so it's just, they have this constant banter going on, and they're so intelligent and so funny, but just the things they say to each other and to us. I remember one time I had been carving a piece, and like I was using the chisel wrong or whatever, but I was doing it on purpose. I was like, I want it to have veins. I want it to be creepy. And Laura comes over and she's just like, what the fuck are you doing there? You made it look like a bear's chewing on it, and just 2 seconds wiped the whole thing out. And she's just, oh man, they're wonderful. Sorry, break the table while I'm at it. But anyway, one of the projects that they had us do was, first they had us all build this very rigid box, which you can imagine art students, that's like a really, really hard thing.
A box isn't, it sounds easy, it's not, because you have, how many dimensions? Like 6 walls at least?
Girl.
And they have to like, it's not like stacking 2 blocks next to each other. So we learned about joinery.
We did. We learned about every saw.
Every saw.
It's illegal.
And Rick Brown had this philosophy: if you can build a box, you can pretty much do anything. That it sounds corny, but you know what? It really, that to me was a very empowering class to me.
Oh no, absolutely. And it was the first people, I think, to not only like give us the tools that we needed, but also like trust us with them and treat us like we want you to do this, we want you to learn this, we want you to have the ability to do this, you know? It was like, it was empowerment the class. It was awesome.
The final class, we had our final review. This was a historic moment. The name Song Conket first came out of my mouth in that class.
I didn't know that!
You were sitting right next to me.
I didn't know it was the first time you said it, though.
Yeah, because originally I was playing with the sound Cog Honket. Yeah, exactly. There just wasn't... But it came out, and I remember Ted Southwick...
Rhode Island equivalent.
Ted Southwick was another shop teacher there, another character.
Fabulous man.
He started the review just asking me questions about my box. My box was pretty much a shed to hold one of my characters in Song Conket, this lawyer called Chuck Jonesboro, attorney at law. Then we proceeded to Melissa, who had a standard box, but it was like lit on fire and just and it was great because Laura Brown response was like, you need to take it up a few notches. You might as well just blowtorch the little bastard.
And then she told me to bury my nice box in the backyard and just see what happens.
And that was just so relieving for me. Not because my academic background was like everything had to be perfect. I originally was studying to become a biologist, and in the sciences, if you're 1/100th of a 1,000th of a % off, you get the entire question wrong. And this was a very different philosophy. Now, granted, a lot of damn work in art school and a lot of work as an artist. We're not, well, many are flaky, but in terms of the work that's put in, honey.
Yeah. you just can't. You just can't.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Laura Brown told me to be quiet because I was critiquing too much on yours. Because, like...
Really?
Yeah, because no one else was saying anything, and I just...
True.
I really digged what you were doing.
Thank you. That was one of those, like...
Which was a big deal for me, because I usually am the kid that never would say anything in class. I'm kind of anxious, I have anxiety disorders, so... That's how empowering it was. I was able to, like, overcome that just for a few minutes by, like, being able to meet Melissa.
Oh,
man! And be with, like, some teachers that were pretty cool that let, things go and were encouraging.
They really... What job did great things for us? For real.
Yeah.
Because, hey, if you can build a box, you can build a town. Sorry, just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, and he was, and the metaphor went, like, you can build a boat... You can sail with the boat. You can... Yeah, Rick is interesting. Like, is famous for his tangents. He's quite the storyteller. He went on one about pencils and how when he was a kid in rural Virginia, they couldn't afford pencils because the lead in it was too expensive. So to have a pencil... And he just went on this long tale, which...
Can we get him on the show?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll I'm looking for as many guests as possible, folks. So if you're interested or you know any people that you think would fit in, please contact me.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa's artwork is it's going all over the place.
Along with my brain.
It's really interesting. There's wood, there's cement, I guess, or
a little household object for everybody.
Yeah, just clay. The clay's fascinating.
Clay is really the direction I should go in because I can like work with it fluidly, but then kind of be in control of the shape it takes. But I don't know.
There's no one thing for you, and that's what your art is. It's all multimedia. You do have a way of working clay that's just these like little. I describe them as little pod creatures. They look like something out of Little Shop of Horrors, sort of. I mean, and we would have reviews at art school. So these things are bigger than having finals in college. So you would have your finals, and then you would have your review week. And there's this, you put up this whatever you made, and you would
get in a fist fight with your integrity.
Yes, and professors would come in and critique it for an hour, and it was hell on earth to set these things up, but quite an extraordinary thing. I found your stuff to be extraordinary once it was set up.
Thank you.
Yes, both of ours were hell setting up.
Actually, that's true. I don't know. Every fucking year, I've had reviews at least like 8 times now, right? And, like, every single time, something would just be going horribly wrong at the very last second. Like, every single time. Oh, man.
But you realize that's life.
That is life. And there would always be such, like, a rush of adrenaline afterwards when it went fine, you know?
Yeah, and it was
hopefully life will follow through.
Yeah, and it was really fun sitting in your reviews and people who never, like, looked at your stuff to experience it. It was, quite the thing. Yeah, interesting. So and a lot of this, it's presented like visually as tangible objects, but also, folks, like read Melissa's descriptions on her webpage. That's just much as part of the art as the sculptures.
I've been trying to figure out. I want to find a way to because like I was saying, like I was going through them and they had like these like complicated reasons for why they were important to me, but also like. The materiality of them kind of speaks to it. So I'm trying to figure out a way to write just a short, like, little poem and that might be something more for things that I make in the future, but I think that might be helpful. That might be helpful for people. Or even for me. I don't know.
I think it'd be for both.
Yeah,
I think that's a difficult thing, like, how do you present your artwork out there? Even something like Song Conka, like, that's still, like, you and I just did 30 minutes ago to a stranger outside a pub. Presents, a puppet towny comedy taking place in this fictional North Shore town. A little bit much. That's the thing I'm always thinking about, I think, for your artwork as well. Like,
and it's so hard to sell multifaceted things that are not necessarily, like, in the norm of things that people expect, also in the norm of things people expect to be sold. Because I think both what you and I do, they are comical and entertaining in some ways, but also, like, incredibly dark. And that is shit that is very, like, I've found, like, yeah, obviously. But, like, I've been noticing, too, that's, like, part of why I have such a hard time talking about my artwork is because, like, I've kind of been conditioned to try to be, like happy person, people pleaser, because it's just the people I'm from. And I don't mind that, but it's always what makes it the most hard to talk about my work, because I'm, like, trying to sell it as something sweet when it's very, very not, and I am very, very not, and it's like that's where that conflict comes out most in my life.
Same here with me. I've never told this to anyone, but Lawrence Schimmel, he's a objectophile sex offender. You can watch his skits. It's entitled Lawrence Schimmel and Jasper Jenkins. Jasper Jenkins is this kind of vaguely possum-looking creature from where the South meets the Midwest meets the West of the United States, and he's kind of this... He's lived a bit of a rough life. I won't get into too much detail, but he's an inhalant abuser. But anywho, he lives in the garbage barrels of Lawrence Schimmel's house, and Lawrence Schimmel came from a very abusive mother that would run a brothel in the cellar, and he would reenact what he saw through the floorboards with his dolls.
Oh, buddy.
I grew up with a very abusive father, but it wasn't until a decade later I found out he was a sex offender. There was nothing sexual happened to me or what I saw, but that was something that was kind of dumped on me at age 22.
Wow.
And so this, for me, is kind of struggling with, because I've been around they've been in, people have done sexually abusive or perverted things. Most people, whether you know it or not, they've been around you, the general you. And so this is kind of me handling that. So Song Conket, sure, it's entertainment, but it's dealing with a lot of harsh issues. And people like Dottie, the pit bull with a human head that's taking care of her kind of deadbeat son that's trying to...
Deadbeat! He's gonna be more famous than all of us!
Probably. But, she represents kind of the struggles of a lot of blue-collar life. She swears by AA and...
drug.
Alcoholics Anonymous is a great organization, but there is components where it's a bit blow-hearted and it's just kind of trivial dreck. Sometimes it gets very dark. It's not like puppets, all fun, silly. No, there's a lot of disturbing things, like even light things like Charlene. She will never get ahead. She should be a famous stand-up comedian. She's hilarious. Melissa makes her hilarious. But she's addicted to chaos, and chaos, no matter how great it gets, right when she's able to get into beauty school for the 6th time, she just can't be successful because she's too addicted to the chaos. She's dedicated to that. So yeah, this is not, this, I definitely can't present this to children. I definitely can't present this as like lighthearted, easy comedy to kind of softly numb you as you come off from a 12-hour shift of work.
Yeah.
But yes, I know the pain of not like how do you market this? What demographic? And the reality is, it's tough. But you know what? It's just unique stuff. We're creating pretty much our own genres. So
exactly.
That's what you get when you're a pioneer. Like European settlers that came out to the American West. Like, it was rough.
Lots of dysentery.
Yeah.
We're creating a dysentery genre.
Yeah, this...
Again, though, it's so important, though, because everybody does, to some experience, have a lot of pain. To some extent, have a lot of pain. And
I think we choose, no matter how much we think we keep to ourselves, to at least embrace and confront it.
Yeah, exactly. And...
We're just so deep, man.
Exactly. That's where I feel like I don't want to get too far into, like, this self-righteous thing of, like, yeah, it's totally helping the world, because I don't fucking know, but it's what feels right to do right now, so, yeah. Boldly go.
Mentioning entertainment.
Did we mention that at some point?
Mentioned Dottie McGarvey, her son Tommy, the 617 Rage. Great hip-hop artist. You can check more of his stuff out on our website and on the Selfie Sunday podcast operated by Pat Gilherm, who brings
Los Angeles.
Who brings Tommy McGarvey, the 617 Rage, to life. He's all about that witch conspiracy in Songconket. Yes, the fictional town of Songconket has a witch that's causing all sorts of chaos in the city.
Where else would they have run to? Salem's right there. Go hang out in a swamp for a few years.
Tommy just left his apartment, living with his mother, and he's out the mystical Squampet March in Songconket, trying to find that sonking witch that's just causing all sorts of havoc in the town. The seductress that she is with her 8 teats, that she presents herself as a mother to men who need a motherly figure. Yes.
Dark as fuck.
And they suckle on her teats, and seagull shit is secreted, and that puts them under a spell. So this is the reason why Songconket Boulevard, which is only 2 miles long, has 7 roundabouts. So if you're interested in New England history and comedy, I hope all you're like, oh yes, so don't die. And check out Songconket. Yeah, so Melissa makes some pretty cool art.
As does Kyle.
This is part of the arting right now.
Yeah, you're right. We're configuring the arting. We're like talking about the art is really all the art you need. It's just all you need is the concept.
I suggested to our friend Willie, who also participates in the show, that there's an art residency that's being hosted by the Uppersons. So,
well, tell me more about this. I
don't know.
I do love a good residency.
I think we need to go talk to them. They just recently purchased a house. Their residents from Concord. Yuppie folks. you might be able to camp out and
do something or other there. Paint with all the colors of the wind.
Participate in a First Friday.
Oh, we're doing that now.
Well, the Yeppersons were trying to... in one of the abandoned paperclip factories. Songkonket was in the late 19th century through most of the 20th century, rooted in the paperclip and novelty vomit industries.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they are the world leader in both those products' productions.
Ah, stupid China.
Yeah. So we got roller derby. That was interesting.
Topic.
So now I understand how that works. So you're not supposed to like hit people. It's more so like sneakily blocking.
Sneakily hit them, but it happens.
Okay, but it happens.
But it still happens. I wouldn't go if they didn't.
It happens. But that sounds fun. So you're practicing in Fairhaven, and I imagine you have tournaments throughout the state.
I don't know yet. Okay. I don't actually know if I'm going to be skating in any of them. Because it's all, got to learn how to turn and stop and, all that first. But yeah, I will let you know when I know.
Cool. So yeah, you can check that out. Do you know what team? Well, I guess the team would have to choose you.
Yep. I also don't have a name yet, officially. So if puns are available, please submit them. Because I've been years slaving over this, and the best I can come up with is like militia, because it's like, or like something like that, because it's like my name.
On my phone, I use the one used in high school, Melissaker.
Melissaker!
That's Melissa's like punk rock name.
But yeah, different. We're working on it.
Scops, the half cod, half man fishmonger, is great with the puns. If you saw in the last skit.
That.
When he's not cod-eyed. But So the Articulate Foolery podcast, here it is, folks. I recorded a little bit today, kind of very slow, and I wouldn't say necessarily sad, just kind of nervous, like how do I host a pod? I think I'll keep it to this. What I'll do is, so regular segments we'll have, which I'm just trying to figure out what should I do for this show. So I have a bag full of strips of paper. Each paper has a noun. What's a noun, you ask? Well, it can be a person, place, thing, or idea. Or idea if you don't talk in Eastern Massachusetts dialect.
I hate idea. Everything else is fine.
Idea.
I hate idea.
There's gotta be other things that annoy you about.
Yeah, that's true. More than idea, but idea's up there.
The horror. But,
Hot dog.
Yeah, so I pick basically a name out of the hat. Whatever the name out of the hat, I tell a 5-minute story around that, because... Yeah. Oh, yeah, we could do that now if you want. I don't... Unfortunately, it's at the other house.
Oh, that's okay.
But I'll pick a topic off the top of my head. Yeah, we can do a team thing.
A team thing,
we
okay.
can kind of like...
Team building.
Throw it in and out.
Problem is...
But let me just finish. So we're going to have segments with storytelling. We're going to have more guests. Melissa will be on the podcast whenever we can get that done. We're going to have lots of other people. If you're interested in being on this podcast, I don't care what you do. If you collect your navel lint or you...
I would love to talk to that person. I'm fascinated by that. And some people might have more active belly buttons than others. They probably know lots of things about natural human secretions that might be helpful to us.
Yes, secretion. Melissa sculptures, they secrete stuff.
They secrete,
yeah, okay. And yeah, we're here. I'm here to just talk about all the other things that I'm interested in, because yeah, I do song content, but I have a lot of other interests, whether it's sociology, anthropology, linguistics, art, history, anything humorous. Yeah, so tune in to the show. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff. Perhaps maybe we could probably even do a live show, because if you follow Song Conket, we do live treaters. So a treater is a show where there's live performance, there's stand-up comedy, you get to meet the puppets on Song Conket, they get to do their thing, there's live music, and music from the 617 Rage.
Oh shit!
You're damn
Fire
right.
in here. There's a fire in here.
Indeed. And we have performance art and all sorts of other stuff and food. So yeah, check that out. We'll be hosting one in the spring. I don't have a date yet, but that will get done. And yeah, that's kind of it. So right now, we're going to tell a story.
Yep.
And the topic is going to be sheep. Sheep, as in the animals that go, ba, ba.
Okay. Well, the first thing that comes to my head was, once upon a time, Kyle and I went on this adventure through all of Ireland. And Kyle... Well, okay, so Ireland is not very cold. So Kyle shows up in, like, the same flannel shirt he's worn for the past 3 years that I have known him. And he was freezing. And at one point or another, he goes, every time I look at a sheep, I just feel warmer. So we just kept on looking at the sheep as we kind of drove along. We were on these very long bus rides through all these very exotic places. And should I tell the rest of the bit, even though it has nothing to do with sheep? No, okay. So before that, Kyle had been staying with a farmer named Pat Lynch, and he has a wonderful voice. You should do his voice. Can you do his voice?
I can't, but...
We get Pat Lynch.
I know, I'll try to get Pat's...
But he's got this wonderful little voice, and he just loves his cows. He loves his cows. And so anyway, he's lovely, but, you know, when you work on a cow farm, you spend a lot of time shoveling shit. So we're traveling all around, and we are about to go to this comedy show, and Kyle starts to get kind of sick. And then he starts to get kind of sicker. And then we're at the show, and he's like, no, like, I'm really sick. And so we had to go, and the poor motherfucker is just turning paler and paler. And
yeah, at the show, it was Foil Arms and Hog, a wonderful comedy troupe you can find on YouTube. Great guys.
I recommend.
Yeah, so I was puking and just...
he was just becoming a puddle of a person.
Both ends were just water coming out. At the show, like, I was kind of trying to get through it, but I was losing my eyesight. I was getting foggy, and both my arms were numb. So I figured, hey, maybe it's time to wrap it up.
But at that point, though, still, like, Kyle's one of those people who's be like, no, like, I'm fine. It's good. I'm just gonna lay here and not talk for a few hours. And so I was like, hey, he says
before that, I was getting really sick, and you gave me the European equivalent to Hepacac.
Right! The fucking weird rose milk, and then it made you throw up more.
Yeah, so I threw up 3 times, and all I could think about was Billy Connolly, the Scottish comedian. He's like the Scottish Robin Williams, and he would talk about growing up in Glasgow and the welders that would work at the shipyards. You know, they're Scottish, so they would just get shit-faced at lunch, and they would just walk by and just puke it up, and then just get back to work. So it's like
inspiration in middle school girls everywhere.
Indeed, so I was like, I'm going to go through this. So we get in, and then I had to go in and out of the bathroom, and everyone in Ireland just assumes, like, oh, you couldn't handle your drink. Like, no.
You fucking American pussy. So, essentially, we were told at the hostel we were staying in that we could not stay there because we would infect the whole place, and we had to go to the hospital. And so we took him to the hospital, and the poor motherfucker had to get so much liquid pumped into him. And I don't know what the doctor gave to you, but the point is, what was nice about the experiences was he got his own room. There's a TV showing Predator, and this very nice family from, I want to say Sligo, but anyway, they were from like very... They were from a place where we were both speaking English and we couldn't tell what the other one was saying. Yeah, like, fucking...
Which is that? Because we're up in Donegal, and Donegal has it's another... You're up in Ulster. You're pretty much like how Northern Ireland, like how Liam Neeson talks. Like, that's another, like, mouthful.
Not these people. No, these people were chewing on rocks, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway...
I vomited in the waiting room, and that's when they, like... Oh,
they had to put you in a wheelchair. It was so scary.
Yeah, you gotta... Because I don't even remember most of it.
No, you were just, like, you were really out of it. And you were kind of just like nodding off a little bit, and yeah, we had to help you move. That's right, we had to help you move onto chairs and stuff. And oh my god, it was awful. The lady, like, I think they put I don't know if they put you in a Johnny or not.
No,
they didn't.
No, because I remember them taking my clothes off, and then you made a comment about I have petite nipples. And I I couldn't laugh, but I had something very witty to say. But my lips were so weak, I couldn't, like, retort it.
And that's when, if Kyle can't insult you back, that's when you know something's really wrong. No, yeah, I don't remember the rest of... Did he give you a procedure or anything like that, though, or was it just meds?
No, they just gave me a shot. They pumped me. The doctor was scared, especially with the Hepacac, which I'm glad you brought that, because I couldn't... It wasn't going to come out bottom ways. It had to come out of my mouth. I needed to vomit, but there was just too much vomiting.
Also, it was weird, though. It was there was no equivalent to Pepto-Bismol or anything like that. It was I was like, what do I do if my friend's throwing up? And she was like, this! Sorry.
Yeah, it was, and there was a couple times I looked at you and you were scared, and that's when because I just didn't know. I was not cognizant. I was out of it, and I was like, is this it?
Oh my god, what if you... I mean, you would have wanted to die in Ireland, but
no, get me out of the hospital. I would have mustered up, get me out and just put me on the ground. Let me just see the Irish sky and just let me,
the Irish sky over Letterkenny.
Just drag me onto the moors and just let me, just waste away there.
I'm glad that we have that part figured out. Alright, now I have instructions. I feel a little bit better. If this happens again, I won't be as distraught. Anyway, that became an old person story where we just got really, really into all these bodily functions going horribly wrong. But the point is that one time my friend and I went to a foreign country. He almost died, and people were speaking all kinds of crazy tongues, but we still made it through. Kyle's okay now, and it was all alright.
Yeah, and I had, a couple days after, the hostel was nice. They gave us a free day. And it was odd. I didn't have a bowel movement for 5 days, which feels weird, but...
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Melissa just nursed me, and she gave me these kiwis, and they were the best fruit I ever had in my life. I forgot about
that. Yeah, I got kiwi, and I got soup, and I got chocolate.
It was the best. It was...
Thanks, Ireland. You're really good at green things.
I always remember that fruit was...
The magical kiwi that brought you back to life.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That makes me happy.
Yeah, that's our little story. I guess real life. But that's a good little insight on our adventures.
Mm-hmm. We're super comfortable talking about bodily functions as just a general thing. I think maybe for some people that takes getting used to, but I guarantee you it's a very relieving thing once you get used to it. Because it's a part of being a human. You just have to. It's a thing.
Yeah. My mother was a nurse, and as I've told Melissa, I was asked as a child.
The consistency of your stool?
No. We didn't, come on.
There was a phrase.
Yeah,
I don't remember
she wasn't that evasive. Come on. Just are you regular?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, language on this podcast is pretty open. Yeah, we don't need to censor ourselves. So, yeah, that's all.
Apparently using the word consistency is just too fucking far. It's fine. We're fine.
So, yes, folks, this is the podcast. So, we'll have Melissa on, and then we'll have another character. We have this other odd world called Dune Kelpie that I've crafted, and there's a character. It's kind of like an adult island for misfit toys, like in the Rankin Bass off the Red-Nosed Reindeer little special. Yeah, it's a little odd world that you have to go to this laundromat in the North Shore, and you have to go to this one particular dryer machine, and you have to pull out the lint tray. And if you look down the lint tray, there's an ocean. And in that ocean, there's a 1,000-mile-long island that is at the very widest 3/4 of a mile. And that is Dune Kelpie.
That's where the dressing comes from.
Yes, so we'll have a character who got landed there originally from Belfast, Northern Ireland. So I'll have a Northern Ireland special in the upcoming weeks.
Do you know how we got there?
What?
How'd you get there?
Well, we'll find out.
Okay, we'll find out.
I know, but
I'm asking for the audience.
The audience will find out when that episode appears.
Pews.
Also, check out, folks, Selfie Sunday podcast.
The Mother podcast, the first podcast we knew in real life.
Great stuff, produced by Patrick Gilherm and his friends. Patrick Gilherm performs Tommy, the 617 Rage. He's been instrumental in getting Song Conquered off the ground. Give them a lookery-roo.
Listen-y-roo. You don't look at the podcast, Kyle.
But they also do little videos.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Well, they do Boston City Cops.
Yeah, Boston City, which I'm in. I play a police officer.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're on Facebook, iTunes. Check them out. Right now, we're just going to be on YouTube. I'll see what I can do about getting this podcast, Articulate Foolery, on iTunes and the such. But yes, Articulate Foolery. Why is it called that? Well, I feel like we're all fools. But
True!
We're attempting to appear articulate, at least.
As we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Yep. I like it.
Final words, Melissa?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on.
You're welcome.
And, oh yeah, we have to figure out a sign-off for the show.
Oh, God. Okay. And mine just goes boop.
A boop, boop, boop. Bye-bye.